welcome to the Marketing Drip, where we drip tips to scale your business digitally. Abby here, and the topic today is specifically for all my dentists out there. I talked with Shelley Renee, a dental consultant who I originally met on a speaking panel at the Dental Festival out in Florida. And what I love about Shelley is she really looks at the practice as a whole. She refers to this as the dental home. So really finding leaks in your home by looking through numbers and perfecting your existing processes to actually be efficient and clean, but most of all, collect that money. So her way of really looking not only at the health of the practice, but also the happiness of the team is truly unmatched. And I'm really excited for all of you guys to hear today's episode. So let's go ahead and begin. Today's drip, provided by Digital Resource, a full-service digital marketing agency that is your resource for everything digital. Hey, Shelley, thank you so much for joining and dripping some knowledge on us today. I'm so excited to have you on.
I'm so excited, Abby. Can't wait.
Yes,
I love visiting with you.
I know. We always have the best conversations, and it really comes down, first off, it's always fun, but I think we have so much aligned, and that's why I really love what you do as a consultant and how you teach practices, as far as really breaking down, and this is what we're going to dive into today, right? Is breaking down what you call a dental house. So for practices to really see their house in order so they can streamline their systems and make sure that everything's efficient and it's actually a productive practice. That being said, break down what are the different boxes. Like tell me about this dental house, because I think it's mind blowing.
So let's just do a little preface first.
Yeah.
When we look at a practice, there are so many moving parts. It's confusing. And our poor owners, they have a lot on their plate, holding the handpiece and doing dentistry, let alone all the other departments and what's happening. Yeah. And we keep hearing segments about this department and this system and that system, and it starts to pile up. And we feel like we're drowning sometimes, and we hear that word system to the point that we can't take it anymore.
Right.
And
it's overwhelming.
It's overwhelming. And you're like, what in the world are we actually talking about anyway? What in the world? So I decided it's time that we start to do less. Instead of adding and adding and adding to the plates of our owners and our poor team members, we need to start looking at the idea of subtracting. And let's look at the big picture that we want to achieve and then back it up. And instead of coming at an owner with the idea of 40 or 50 systems, we're going to look at a couple areas of the practice. Let's simplify it.
I love this.
Right? I read this incredible book about the science of subtraction by Lady Klotz, and it says it's the opposite of how we are here in the States. We're constantly adding. So if something isn't working, we add more systems. We add more team members. Now we have 4 systems that are out of whack instead of 1 that works. So wow. I'm looking to eliminate a lot of systems and get it to the 4 main boxes that I refer to in the house. Yeah. So I can step into that if you like.
And I love, before we step into it too, I want to take a step back as far as you're talking about subtracting and the amount of workload, because I don't know, I'm sure you see this all the time, is you go into these practices and it comes down to the conversations that they're having and that they're overwhelmed, or someone feels like they're not excelling, right? They just feel defeated. And that could be the owner, and everyone blames themselves or blames other people, but to your very point, it's the structure of what's going on in the practice as a whole. And I truly believe it comes down to processes, right? So I love that you say that and sometimes that's so true. Sometimes you can put in so many processes that it actually makes it too complicated, and it's now confusing.
Yes. It's too complicated. You're not even able to implement it fully, and there's not enough team members anymore. Or your team members have dropped out of the game and you're on to rehiring before. So we need less. And we need a process that's working instead of a poor process that we add more steps to. And typically, that's exactly what I see. I call it like hand-me-down knowledge. The office manager from the 90s taught the next office manager, who taught the next office manager. So they're carrying things along that don't work, so they add to the plate. I want the reverse. Let's strip it down. Let's clean house. Let's strip it down. Let's go back to instituting a process that gets the results.
Oh, that's so true. Hand me down. It's so true. That's my
Hand me
biggest
down
pet
knowledge.
peeve is hearing is how we've always done it. But is it the right way? Like it
This is
doesn't
how I
mean
was
that
taught.
this is how I was taught, so I'm going to keep it going. And then, oh, you're so right. And then they teach the next person and the next person. It's like, when does it end?
Oh, it's like copying bad photocopies of stuff that it was doubtful it was working in the 90s. And now we've carried the same process. And what I'm encouraging you to do is take each process apart and look at it. Is it working? And discard it. Don't keep carrying it. We might not even need it at all. With the technology out there, we might not even. Let me give you a little example. To me, if you're sending statements out in your practice, your system isn't working.
Oh, I love that you said that.
You're sending a statement, something else has dropped in your process. You don't now need to hire more people to do billing. You don't need to hire more outsourcing. You need to go back and get a system that works. If you've ever read, growing up as a kid, read Laura Numeroff, If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. And it spirals out of control. So if your process at the check-in isn't getting a patient balance or holding a credit card on file, now you're into statements. And if you're into statements, now you're into AR problems. And if you're into AR problems, now you're hiring more team members, now you're hiring collection agents. See how it spirals? It just spirals. All because the process was wrong. We don't throw more people at it. We don't throw more layers. We go back and clean up. And that's what I'm referring to when I'm getting your house in order. I am cleaning up your systems. Most of the time, it's saying you don't need this anymore. It's like cleaning your closets. Okay, why are you holding on to this? That served you then. It does not serve your practice now. So we want less systems that are fast to implement, real fast, because you don't have time. You get new team members coming and going. How do you get them up to speed quick? Simple system that works.
Because even you're talking about training and making sure that it is more efficient. And you do. It's that third party needs to come in and have that perspective. I feel like that's typically, would you agree? Like that is what happens is you're getting too many opinions involved. You're getting too many ideas involved. Where if you just take a step back and have a third party come in and really like be able to see it.
I heard a saying says you can't read your label from inside the jar. You're in it day in, day out. So you don't see from outside the jar what's happening. So it opens your eyes.
You need to make a quote book and I will buy it. Like everything these one-liners, my editors are going to love because these are like gold right now. Oh my gosh. That's so true. You're stuck in the jar. You can't see outside of it. Even if it's clear, it doesn't matter. You can't see from the outside in. Oh my goodness.
Well, or it's scary. What do you mean let go of this system? What do you mean? Or maybe it's just tweak that system and it works. So majority of the time, people are adding complication because something wasn't working. What I'm asking you to do is stop adding more layers. Let's go.
So how do we do that? How do
practices?
Let's dive into like how they can actually take action.
Okay. Love it. Excellent. So I have made it simple. I'm looking at 4 aspects of your practice. I'm looking at what you're getting for patients. So here's the 4 categories: get, keep, care, and collect. So if you picture a roof of your house, what's coming in the door? What are you getting into the practice? Is it the right patient? And I'm not talking quantity. I'm talking one that matches your purpose, your style of dentistry. Does the patient coming in the door, does it cover your costs of how you practice? So I'm looking at get, and that would involve the experience the patient has, the scheduling, the phone skills. So what's coming in? Then we would look at how are you doing keeping your patients. So get, keep. Are you keeping them? If your process keeps your patient, you're not going to need so many coming in the door. You're not going to have to spend so much all the time on more team members and more operatories if you're keeping. So we can talk about that. Then we're going to look at how you care for the people under your roof. What is that care like? What is your standard? Are your patients accepting your level of care? Is your care equal across all providers? And most importantly, are you collecting at the end of the day? So if we have those 4 buckets clean, the difference is night and day for an owner. Night and day, they have the right patients coming in the door. They're keeping them. The level of care is where the doctor wants it to be, and they're collecting.
Yes.
I would call that a house in order. They can go home earlier. You've saved time.
And you're happier because you have the type of patients that you want.
Produce.
I know from the we've talked about this, right? From the marketing aspect, as far as getting, there's a lot of times where you really, how you're promoting yourself, but also what you're attracting to your office, how you're describing your office. You can identify, if you understand your buyer personas or your target audience, you can resonate with them, stand out against them, against competition, and say, like, do you want to do more implants? Tell people that. Do you want to do more Invisalign? Tell people. Like, do you have the authority and the technology to do that? Tell them. Like, they only know what you are putting out in the world, and you can attract those right patients by whether that's, making sure your online presence is there or communicating that while they're in the office. But I love that if you get the right patients in, and then of course you're going to have attrition, but keeping the ideal patients. So the ones that actually show up for their appointment and pay their bills and are fun to be around, right? Like you're at work, if not more than you're at home, right? So your dental home is just as important to align everything with and be happy at. We talk about this a lot when it comes to marketing, right? When it comes to getting the right patients and making sure that you're attracting the right audience. I mean, a lot of times people, they want to do more implants or they want to do more Invisalign or they're pediatric or general dentistry. We always find that out on the front end, so we know what we're targeting. But by identifying that, it's like, tell people. You want to do more Invisalign? Tell people that you offer it and the technology that you have. You want to do more implants? Tell them that you are accredited and you are able to do implants and they should trust you and you have the technology to do that. But if you don't tell people and you're not attracting the right audience that you want, that falls on you, right? Like you have to know who you're going after, reach out to them, target them online through digitally. But I know you talk a lot about this as far as the roof too, and like making sure the purpose. So how do they know who their audience is? Yeah, and who they want.
Perfect. So this has to deal with who you are as a person, as an owner. What is lighting you up? What are you thrilled? What do you love to do for procedures? What could you do all day long that just makes you so happy? That's tells me a lot about your purpose. What are you here to do? What gives you your why? And I use that as the roof on the image of our house because it is the purpose. It is your style and who you serve that we have to establish. Nothing else matters if that's off. How can we be in alignment? How can we set a system that's going to serve the way you want it to be. Most of the stress is because you're not meeting that expectation. You think your office in practice is going in this direction, but you're not. It's counterclockwise to what you stand for and what you represent.
Yeah.
So first, let's establish, what do you represent? What is your purpose? And trust me, teams want to make a difference. Your team will stay with you when they're making a difference. So what is that? Who do you serve? Establish that. That is the roof. That is the protective covering of your practice. And the system underneath on who you attract will match. The patients stay. You keep them because they're following in your purpose. They're drawn to you. So all the pieces fall in place, and you will have a practice that reflects you and what you believe in. And that is one of the biggest ways towards a better life right there, is just getting that alignment.
I love it. It makes me think of, and we've talked about this before too, right? How obviously you're a dental consultant, but this pertains to so many different businesses. Like this is relevant for anybody. If you could be at your office or your dental home, your office home, more than you're at your actual home, right? And it's just identifying that your happiness to make sure that, but you have to be on the right path. You have to be in sync with everybody else. It makes me think of, there's this activity we did at one point, and it was a target, right? And if you have a blindfold on, it's harder to hit your target. But if you obviously don't have a blindfold, it's a lot easier. And the whole purpose of the activity was clarity. What are the goals that we're going after? What is our target of what we want to achieve? And if, as a leader, as a business owner, if you're not communicating that to the rest of the team, and if consistently you go to different team members and say, what is our purpose? And what's our goal? What are we trying to achieve? If it doesn't align, how you guys are all going in different paths, and it's going to be really hard. If you work together, you can hit that target a lot faster versus I think we're going here. And like, to your point, that's where frustration builds, because everybody's fighting for their own path versus
getting that
going
direction,
on
the peak on your house, the direction you're going, so important. And then the system would match the direction. It makes sense. Everything you do is for a reason. It's purposeful. It's a purposeful life. And that's why I say getting your house in order gives you a better life, inside out. Dr. Seuss, inside out, upside down, right side up. You feel good.
Inside out.
Proud. You don't have to work so hard because of all these inefficiencies. You're working so hard in the wrong direction, not in the direction they want to be working, and not in the style they want to be working. So let's fix it. Let's stop. Let's do a redesign in your practice. Let's look at what system is worth saving, what system no longer serves you, and who do you serve anyway. Let's define that so that we can match and we hire to that same purpose. That's it.
Love that. And even I love that too. And if you know your purpose, if you know your core values, if you know your goals of what you're trying to achieve, even looking at your target audience, your buyer persona, is really identifying that now you have your root, you have your purpose. Then you can go into, well, now let's get the patients, right? Even if you've already been an established practice, now let's attract the audience that you want. And get those patients with that agenda or that focus in mind.
Even the insurances you attract. I refer to it like a financial portfolio. So for me, you don't want to be too heavy in this stock or bond or that stock. It's same. That's how I look at the insurance mix in your practice. So I want to look at where you're heavily vested or not heavily. Is this what you want? Does this leave you vulnerable? That's a big part of what I'm looking at when I look at who's coming in the door of your house. And is this helping you or hurting you? That's a huge part of what we look at when we're getting your dental house in order. Exactly.
Oh, that's so true, because that's been the biggest topic, right? Like dropping PPOs or how that
Uh-huh.
works, or what do you want to do to make it
Hmm.
efficient and make sure that you're still producing and
Yep.
collecting or attracting the right patients. But you're that's so true.
Hmm.
That is also part of all of this. Is I can't stop thinking about, like,
Hmm.
that goes straight into your marketing strategy. That is if you have that plan in order
Ooh.
and then you give that to your
And
marketing team, oh my gosh, like
yep.
that would be so
Yeah.
amazing to have that aligned and attract that
Hmm.
audience. Yeah. Because then we can go after ads and SEO and make sure that we are attracting that new audience. And to your point, I, and I hear this a lot too, Shelley, like they talk about, or, when talking to doctors every day, right? And
Yeah.
a lot of times it's, are you happy? Like, are you happy with the patients that you have? What is the ideal patient? Because you
I'm
do
so
realize
happy
you
you
have
said that.
complete
No
control
one,
over the patients that come
I want you to say
in.
that
You
again
don't
because
have
people
to,
don't hear, they think that you're a
yeah,
victim. You just open your door and you take what comes. That's not the case. I believe
a
you
victim,
drive
yes.
in the direction you want to go. We're not just going to sit here passively, well, my area is all XYZ insurance, so I don't have a choice. No, you do have a choice. And when
Yes.
we have each corner of your house operating, you're keeping the patients and you're attracting the right patients. You're collecting as you should, and your standard
Yes.
of care is where it belongs. It works. It
Yes.
works.
And how would you, let's go into keeping. So
Yeah,
they've got the audience, they've
yeah.
defined everything with their purpose, they've got the new patients that they want. Now keeping them.
Retention,
What
there's
are
all
things
kinds
they
of
need to look
reports
at
we
to really
run. One of the things
establish
that I'm
retention?
offering for your people is doing a revenue reveal. But I look at retention. You cannot imagine how much revenue is
Yes.
lost. It's silent. You don't notice it always. But we would look at how many people are skipping the hygiene department. Like maybe they're coming for emergencies, adjustments, or one tooth
Mm-hmm.
procedures and skipping. Recent practice, we found 716 had skipped the hygiene department. 716. If you do the math on that, their average hygiene visit times
Wow.
two for 716, this practice, there was easily 100K, one broken system. There was a leak. No, no, this is retention.
Wow. Just in
Retention.
hygiene.
So that's watching the patient flow, watching that the
Okay.
patients that
Okay.
come in the door stay, that they go into your hygiene program and stay. So that's just an example of what you would look for in retention and keeping your patients. So there's a few strategies that go into that, a few strategies, what part's the team part, what part's the
Wow.
owner part to keeping. But our owners should know where they are with their retention. Lifetime value of a patient is worth so much, and it will
Yeah.
speak volumes to the type of life an owner will have over the next few years
Yes.
with his practice or her practice. Yeah. Hmm.
Exactly. And it's
Yep.
making sure,
Yep.
like you said, it's the processes, it's what's happening, how are people falling through the cracks, what are people coming in for? Is that go back to
Correct.
getting patients? Are you attracting emergencies? So therefore they're only coming. And if
Correct.
that's the idea, then what's the plan to retain
Perfect
them to make
example.
sure that they
Perfect
do get
example.
into
This was an
hygiene and
office
make
that
sure
was
that,
attracting
God, that's amazing.
emergency
And
patients, but finding that it
yeah,
wasn't adding to their base. These patients they weren't keeping, so they needed a
okay.
different strategy. They needed to look at their purpose and who they served. Are they serving this community? Does it work? This case, it did. This owner, this meant the world to them. So we looked at
Yeah.
what are we going to do here to keep them once you've got them here? So we're looking at all kinds of things, the flow, the experience, everything.
Ex-
Yeah.
That, and we look at that too sometimes with different ads we're
Mhm.
attracting. You might be attracting price shoppers, right? The one time new patient special, and therefore they're not staying loyal. That's why it's really
Yep.
important to make sure in the office, they have an amazing experience. You're educating them, but also outside of the office, there's emails and texts that you can be sending out, and it's tracking that data as well to see where the holes are and going after those people to make sure that they get back in. I love that you say looking at numbers and seeing where the revenue's dropping, right? Like we always look at unscheduled treatment. Did you propose a bunch of treatment and it hasn't been accepted? That's not necessarily just on the doctor. That one time they talked to him about it. And it's so much pressure. Make sure you're educating them outside of the office, whether that's on your website or that's through email and text messages to drip on them and tell them you have financial options and tell them that you have the right technology so then it's less invasive or less time that they have to take off of work. By appealing to what the patient actually cares about, that's going to help your retention and then in turn get referrals, which everybody wants. Ideally, that's your get is naturally through referrals because they are going to attract like-minded people. And if they are happy, they pay the bills, they show up on their appointment, most likely the people they are also connected with are going to be those same type of demographic.
Great tie-in, complete tie-in.
So having control,
what you're getting, how you keep them, how you care, it should go together. And then your collection. Absolutely. It is a package. It's a complete package. It's a internal systems remodel of a cleanup, to bring you happiness, literally, to lighten your load, to accomplish what you're seeking to accomplish, your purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of times we're clinicians, so we think, care we got down, right? Like I can care, I can do what I can do. And it's the retain or making sure that you keep them right. The care comes naturally. Collecting, I love that that's also part of it because that is usually what falls to the waistline. Like there's so much opportunity, not usually, right? But like there is missed opportunities because of process breakdowns.
So,
and I love that you're
the
saying
way we can tell if your process
instinct to do is add more processes, add more people to the mix.
Many owners know, how do I know my process is working? How do I know? No. Measurable. How do you measure it? Just like health is measured by numbers. Your weight, your cholesterol, your blood pressure. It's numbers tell you if you're healthy. In a practice, same thing. We measure. And the measurement, it's not about money. It's about your system.
Yeah.
And is your system alive and well, or is your system sickly and in need of some attention? Okay. So I look in the 4 buckets. I look at what you're getting in the door. What are those numbers telling me? What are you getting? What are you keeping? How you care. Surprisingly, everyone's sure their care is right up there. The most leaks in the system are typically in the care bucket. And quite a bit in the collective bucket. So what I love to do, and I could do with, for any of your
my gosh,
people,
it's so interesting.
Abby, is we look in each of those 4 areas and see what is the system that needs the most urgent attention. Is it in the collection system? Is it in the retention, the care or getting? Yeah. Right.
And this is simply by looking at numbers. You guys just know what numbers to look at, what to see. And it's hard too, because I love that it's custom. It has to be custom, right? There's this idea of like, just give me the list of numbers that you need and I can provide it.
It's silent too.
It's more complicated than that because they intertwine with each other.
Walking in and out of the practice unbeknownst to you.
Yeah.
So you don't know that people are slowly, it's been past 18 months that they've been in. You don't know unless you're actually watching and measuring. Or that you examine, you may be surprised and you're very effective in this quadrant of your dental home, but this quadrant of your home is screaming for some attention. And just giving a little tweak here is going to save you hours. You're not going to need to hire so many people. You're not going to need to add all these systems. You're going to unburden. I spend all my time reading books about subtracting and about getting rid of clutter. That's what I want. I like Marie Kondo. She gets rid of clutter. It's not
That's
for just clean house. It's because it sparks joy.
yes.
You walk in and it's a breath of fresh air. I think our practices should be the same. We should walk in and feel so good because we've got our
Yes.
game on. We've discarded all those systems that don't serve us.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly. Cluttered desk is a cluttered mind,
Yes.
right? And we always joke about that at the office. Like you can tell
Yeah.
where somebody's at if we're just like a mess. It's like I'm a mess right now. I'm just a mess, and that's the representation that you're giving.
Yeah.
But it's for yourself. It's clarity. It's like there's structure. There's I love when Maria always says like thank your clothes when you give them away. Like they had a purpose, but they no longer have that purpose. So thank your process and then get rid of
Has
it and start
anybody
new and
come
stop
and
holding
gone through
on
your
to
processes and, well, this one is working. And
Yeah.
these 3 you don't need. Do you know you can let go of them? The teams are looking at me and they're like, what do you
Yes.
mean? What do you mean? I have long lists of things that I want them to let go of. I have lists and
What are you
lists and
doing?
lists.
Change?
And it brings so much excitement to the team. They're like, I can really let go of this. I don't have to do this. And I'm like, that's correct. You're done. Let go of it. You don't need to hold that anymore.
That's
Exactly.
Take it if you want. Exactly. Well, you have all these different
Excellent.
systems, these different ways, but Shelley, what's
Okay.
like the fastest
So
way to really
if you
determine a
go to my
system that needs
website and you want to
attention
do this yourself, I
and
have
making
a
sure?
money
Yeah.
leaks checklist. Now, remember, I'm about purpose and I'm about being happy
Okay.
in your practice. But the only way I can tell what system needs fixing first is looking at
Yeah.
where it's leaking out of your home, where you're inefficient. So go to the website, download the money leaks checklist. You have a choice. Do it yourself. Have someone help you run the software reports and get the numbers. Okay,
Yeah.
how many skipped hygiene? How many went inactive? You have to know where your healthy range is. That's one way. And then re-examine your system. Another way, I call it my revenue reveal.
Yeah.
I'll do it for you. Just let me get some software. Let's do this free. I will for you, Abby.
Yeah.
For you.
Free?
Because I love chatting with you. Absolutely. So there's the
Oh,
revenue
thank
reveal.
you.
Well, I'll give you a report that actually
Yes.
looks like a home. So we're going to look at what you're getting, what you're keeping, how you care, how you collect, and I'll give you the suggestions. I say you look here or you start here.
I love
So,
that. And how I always like to close out too, Shelley, is just your standard advice, right? Like we went over a lot, so I hope this isn't redundant, but if you could advise any business or practice, because I think a lot of this bleeds into businesses too, but businesses or practices that are either starting off or just wanting to make it to the next level, what would you tell them? What would you think is the biggest miss that businesses have?
quit trying to outrun it and double down and work harder. It's not about that. It's about lightening your load and dropping things that no longer serve you. Let go of these things that are dragging you down. Let go of it totally. Let's clean house. Let's simplify so that you stay on the things you love. Keep more of the money you make and go home quicker. Be with your family. Go away more.
Live. Yes. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, I
Live.
love
Better
get rid of
is
the baggage.
possible. Yes.
Yes. Oh, I love that. And because you're more efficient and you are able to do stuff, you can work smarter, not harder. You're not putting all this time in it. I love that you say that because I think that's missed. Like a lot of times I work longer hours, therefore I'm working harder and I'm getting more done. Not always. That just means your system is broken. Like
you're spinning your wheels. If you keep hearing your team members say, I can't get to that, I can't get to that, I need more help, I need more help, I need more help, that's a sign that you have a broken system. Because if the system works, you don't need to add someone to help you with the insurance aging and add someone on to work this and schedule. You don't have to keep adding more bodies if you get the system that's working, so your overhead will actually get better. And it's less onboarding time for new team member. what I see is they hire a team member before they're fully trained. The next team member comes, the next team member, but there's so many systems they don't feel satisfied. They can't get to it all. So we need to re-examine and discard systems.
You're adding more bodies to the confusion, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And it's like, you're just creating more work for yourself, because that's not only managing more. And to your very point, I mean, that's obviously been the topic of a lot of practices today, is just hiring. We can't get enough people to be hired. But the thing is that COVID, I always talk about, pushed everybody, is people didn't know how to do a video call before. Now everybody has Zoom or some kind of Google Meet or something that they're communicating through, right? And automations, booking online, all of that is possible. And it's making sure those systems are in place and turned on. We typically find they're paying for appointment reminders or software like it that sends out appointment reminders. Less than 10% of the software is used. And they're trying to do the old fashioned phone call and leaving a bunch of voicemails. I'm not saying that that's not relevant. The phone call is very amazing, but only to people that want you to call them. By automating things and by putting processes like that into place, that you have all the tools in your tool belt. You just got to turn them on and use them and make sure they're working and being effective. So that's less bodies that exactly.
There's so
you're
many
collecting
things
more.
Another time, I gotta tell you, I have like lists of what they can let go of. Like my most exciting one I have them let go of is I limit how many months they're gonna work insurance aging for a patient. But I have a system on the front end that is really clear about the office responsibility, and we have our signed documents, we have everything in order, and so we get the patient involved right away, and we work it for X amount of time. The patient's involved and aware, and then the patient can complain to the HR about that plan. Then you can whip in your in-house plan, tell them don't get that plan next year, and we're not getting paid within. So my offices will handle them for 60 days. We will work with you for 60 days. After that's your responsibility. So let's start limiting what's happening here and letting go. We're not working claims for a year. Come on. We are in dentistry. That's not our purpose. Doesn't match our purpose. That doesn't bring us joy. That adds more team members. We don't need this. Let it go. There's a nice, gracious way of doing this. So that's just one example of things we limit, rein it in, let it go.
Clarity and subtract. I love that.
Right?
Shelley, we're
Renee
going to have to basically...
clear is kind.
Clear is kind! Clear is kind! Oh my God, you just threw Renee at me. I can't even. I love Renee.
Love her.
Literally, we might have to make this a series. I know I love talking to you, and I'm definitely going to have you back, because it's always... obviously what we do intertwines so much, but also just, I get exactly where you're coming from, and we've both seen it work, right? It's just efficiency and clarity, and I love everything that you've said. So thank you, Shelley, so much for talking with me today, and thanks everybody.
Abby.
Of course, literally going to have you back. So thanks everybody else for tuning in. If you want to learn more about how to get your dental house in order, or even just working with Shelley, because she's amazing, go to her website at shelleyrenee.com. She's got a lot of E's in there, y'all. So SHELLEY, just like me. We got the EY in our name, Renee.com. And it's also included with this video as well. And Shelley, I know we mentioned the 2 offerings that you also have. So you guys want to take advantage of DIY, you can do the checklist. Otherwise, if you want her to run a report, you can do that as well. And tell me what you call them again, just so I don't mess that up.
So there's a money leaks checklist. You can just click and download that off the website, or the revenue reveal, which is personal. It is your real numbers will reveal to you where it is. Exactly.
I love that. Thank you for offering that to the audience too. Really appreciate all the feedback. And thanks so much, Kelly, for your time. Shelley, for your time, and we'll see you. We'll see you next time on the market.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna re-say that because no, that's not okay.
That's funny. Whoever you are.
My words are in, yeah. I made this whole time without blah, blah, blah,
It's
and
so
now
good. That's so good. We're getting tired. That's it.
we're getting tired. That's right.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for offering that, Shelley, to our audience. I really appreciate it. And thank you for letting us pick your brain today. And for everybody else, we'll see you next time on The Marketing Drip. Bye, y'all.
Thank you, Abby. Bye.
Bye.